Welcome to Rob Schmitt tonight. 3 weeks ago, the New York Times highlighted a SCOTUS poll on affirmative action. And the numbers were shocking to those living on the tiny coastal dark blue slivers of this country. 74% of Americans wanted the Supreme Court to do exactly what it did today, dismantling affirmative action in a powerful 6-3 ruling. 3 in 4 Americans support what happened today and believe race belongs nowhere near the application process to get into a school. 3 in 4 is a solid majority. You can't find a majority on almost any issue like that. It includes 6 in 10 Democrats, 3 in 4 political independents. A poll that stands resoundingly in defiance of the equity ideology that has captured the American left and is controlling a lot of our lives and is being implemented by the cultural and political elite on a very unwanting populace. The White House today once again showed how painfully disconnected they are from reality and from the will of the American people. Here's Joe Biden incensed by this 6-3 decision, flat out lying about what affirmative action has meant for decades in this country.
Many people wrongly believe that affirmative action allows unqualified students to be admitted ahead of qualified students. This is not how college admissions work. Rather, colleges set out standards for admission, and every student has to meet those standards.
Is this a rogue court?
This is not a normal court.
Well, if you go by the polling, the abnormal one here is Joe Biden, and his flat-out lie about affirmative action is demonstrable. A breakdown of everyone accepted in a recent year at Harvard, purely on academics, which is only part of the way Harvard decides who gets in. You see a black student in the 4th worst academic decile, that's close to the bottom of who gets let in, had a better chance of admission than a top-tier Asian American student that's in the top decile, the 10th decile. This racial profiling, which is what it is, blatant discrimination of Asian Americans, is what the president is defending, punishing certain races for overperforming Asian Americans most of all. Biden tries to make the point that every student a school considers has passed some threshold academically and is then chosen or eliminated based on a slew of other considerations. But as time has passed, woke universities, which are some of the most prestigious and coveted in this country, have continued to lower the academic bar. It's their way of boxing out students that leftists deem privileged. Prestigious schools like Cornell, George Washington University, NYU, more than 80% of four-year colleges no longer consider your SAT scores for admission. Does anybody think that's normal? Does anybody think that that makes any sense at all? It is a full-blown Marxist assault on meritocracy and the things that make this country great. The radical left running these institutions despise a system that rewards the best and the brightest in this country. This is part of why we're collapsing as a society. It's this ideology. It's everywhere. And while real Americans remain clear-eyed on the vision for this great nation that gave everybody an equal opportunity at a great life, our greatest enemy, the militant media, ignore the fact that this decades-long racial experiment has not improved the American experience for minorities at all, on the whole. It just hasn't. It hasn't worked. They're now furious, though, that their failed policy is being ended.
This decision, let us be clear and not be deceived, it's an attack on black people.
I think that this is tantamount to sticking a dagger in our back.
What you're doing is you are limiting people's access to the American dream.
No. Today's ruling upends a previous decision that continued affirmative action from 2003, the Bollinger decision, which upheld that race could be used as part of the process, but that quotas are not allowed. That's what happened in 2003, 20 years ago. With the removal of the SATs in admissions, though, the Bollinger decision is obviously being subverted by crafty university radicals at this point. They're just lowering the standards, and you can get into Harvard with a much lower GPA, and that's how they get a lot of people in. When Bollinger was decided, Justice Sandra Day O'Connor wrote in her majority opinion The court expects that 25 years from now, the use of racial preferences will no longer be necessary to further the interest approved today. Well, the exact opposite of that is what's really happening. Our education system and our culture are rotting, nowhere more evident than heavily minority neighborhoods, thanks to the ideologies of the very same people, most of them white liberals, who are so infuriated by today's decision. Leftism fails every single time. That's the real story. And affirmative action is the Band-Aid they've been using for decades to cover up this failure. The real solution starts with fixing education, which means destroying American teachers' unions and going full throttle on charter schools in inner cities like so many minority neighborhoods have been begging for, and they can't get it through the heads of their city and state leaders that are so beholden to the unions. And then comes the cultural aspect. Until we bring back a healthy, positive, responsible family culture in this country, and especially in inner cities, the divide will remain, and no amount of affirmative action can fix it. The socioeconomic scale in this country is the exact inversion of the affirmative action agenda. Asian Americans are punished the most. Why? Because they succeed the most. Why? Structure. A solid family unit. The persecution, systemic racism argument is debunked. Japanese Americans were put in internment camps 80 years ago in this country. Japanese families today are wealthier than white families by almost the exact margin as the disparities in family units. Next time anybody brings up systemic racism, hit them with that. There is no response. It's culture and education, and this country is failing at both.